All right, subscribers, I'm going to be a little more loose and casual with you guys. We're going to start right with Saturday's college football. Right now, tentatively, it's not finalized, but I am looking at Georgia Tech. The Yellow Jackets are hosting Tulane, 28.5 point spread. Right now, I am looking at that as being the best bet. Probably is going to be for Saturday. Want to touch on a few other games. I'll get this card out to you, but it's just all these games I'm going to mention might not be on the play sheet, but it's just something else for you to think about, guys. Right here on the top, I got Fresno State marked plus 28.5. It's a pretty huge number, and I'm going to say that the public is going to have this number skewed as Ole Miss put up 70 points on just a defenseless team last week. Fresno State, I believe, covered against Abilene Christian at home. It is a long trip across the coast. Fresno State, to me, just seems to have a little more offensive punch. 28.5 points is a shitload for most teams against Fresno State, if not all. But Ole Miss isn't the top-notch team, especially probably on the defensive end. We'll see. I haven't decided yet, but that's a game I am definitely looking at. Same thing with Clemson, 17-point home favorites against against Appalachian State. App State predominantly an FCS contender year after year, usually put decent teams out on the field. I think Clemson's just a tough team this year. 17 doesn't seem like enough. They'll grind this team down. I think 17, it's about a touchdown off my number. So we'll see how it works out there. Clemson. A game I really like and want to talk about briefly is going to be Cincinnati, 6.5. Again, public view of a situation. Temple coming in off a straight-up home win as an underdog against Penn State in a pretty convincing fashion. They controlled both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. They pretty much just handed it to Penn State. And, of course, I was skeptical of Penn State. Who isn't? So I'm not really going to give Temple a ton of credit for this win other than they did win and played pretty effective defensively. Offensively, they've got issues. I mean, they lost to the Cincinnati team at home last year in a pouring, driving rainstorm, and they really couldn't do anything. Cincinnati turned the ball over Lord knows how many times. I remember greasing that game out by like a half point or a point on the spread. I want to say the final score was 20-9 on a 10-point spread. I just look for Cincinnati to be more efficient at home, catching a team off a big home win, hit the road the next week. Look to fade the team off the big home win. That's going to be Temple this week. Probably going to fade them and play Cincinnati. Couple teams, I don't even really have anything marked down per se. But I have Marshall written down. Georgia again, which we didn't get the win. They just got the spread cover, was about to get the ball back on a punt with 9 minutes left. And then the second rain delay called the game just minutes before it would have been official in Vegas. We're looking at those as possibilities. Also have written down Arkansas as a 21.5 point spread. Also have Bowling Green as an interesting little play, perhaps, against Maryland. Not sure Maryland is a decisive enough team over a touchdown favorite at home. Big Ten is down again from what my eyeballs see. I'm not really that impressed, but again, we'll see how that plays out. Bowling Green is a possibility. SMU, and I'm going to guess this is more of a fade on the opposition. As I say, it's just I've got these notes written down. I'm basically reading you right off my notebook of notes I had made. I'll flip the page here and keep going. Michigan State, I like. Anytime a Pac-12 team travels eastward, it's just usually not good. They're not defensive-minded teams to begin with. And Michigan State is a legitimate team, so I just think Michigan State's going to be able to handle whatever Oregon brings in. I think they got a transfer quarterback from Eastern Washington that was good. Probably fit into their system okay. But again, you just wonder. And and the last one I have noted down is yet another fade of a Big Ten favorite, as I got Florida International with a little circle around them as a possibility. They're at Indiana, 7.5-point favorite. I think Indiana had a big game last week. Again, sometimes it's public perception that pushes things the other way. What you see this week is what you think you're going to get the next week. In a sport like football, a lot of times it just doesn't work out that way, particularly the home and away. That seems to get by people quite a bit, specifically in the NFL. Teams are just oblivious to how difficult it is to actually win games on the road in the NFL. And they lay points on the road like it's no big deal. And I've been watching football for far too long. You might get the wins that way, but trust me, winning on the road in the NFL is one of the toughest things to do in any sport. Speaking of the NFL, go right into my notebook here. I pretty much let everybody know that Green Bay looked like the play to me this week, and I'm sticking to it. Nothing's really changed my mind, even with the public dumping on it. The public is sometimes going to be right, you know. That's another thing. We were speaking in the regular podcast today. I spoke to public perception and public moves and money moves and betting according to the line. I mean, the public has such knee-jerk reactions to everything, just the basic general betting public. Just got to understand that perception is not always reality. What you see is not always what you're going to get. And you need some basis, some grounding, so you don't get too euphoric in teams and situations. Yeah. My style of handicapping, I'm typically looking for a reason not to bet on teams. It helps me when I got a 100-game card, that if I can just go through and knock 50 games out just on principle, that they don't fit into any quantitative field of play that's going to profit me long term. I prefer to be able to just start slashing games right off the list. This week, looking at the NFL card, there's a lot of tough games. Kansas City at Houston. Houston slight favorite. Kind of want to take Houston, but not really committed. Jets, Cleveland, that's just garbage, man. Let's just be honest here. There's some games early in the season. Why would I bet on this? I mean, even the bookmakers don't want. There's a couple of these games. Tennessee, Tampa Bay is another one. Just a dead 3-point spread, hasn't moved a notch. Basically, a 3-point spread means that the teams are essentially numerically even, and then you give 3 points to the home field advantage. And the bookies will do that with shit games like this, that there's no clear advantage of either team. There's nothing really to base any opinion on. So you just say, okay, Jets are at home. They're a 3-point favorite. Pick any team you want. We don't give a shit. That's one of those games. Colts, 2.5-point favorites in Buffalo. Tough sell. Kind of would lean to the Colts, but we'll see again. We'll see how the Buffalo plays out. Rex Ryan. We'll see if their defense is as good as they have been, if he can get any offensive continuity. Seems to me that where Rex Ryan goes, bad offense follows, but we'll see if that's the case here in Buffalo. Week 1, they host the Colts. Miami in Washington, 3.5-point favorites. That's just scary to me. Even with all the problems in Washington, Miami is more of a conservative, physical kind of team. So even if they grind out and gut out a win, now we're talking about covering more than a field goal on the road. I mean, this is the kind of game that's set up for 2017, 17, 14, 20, somewhere in that range where one play is probably going to move this. The bettors are going to be relying on one play either way on that game. Carolina Panthers favored by 3 in Jacksonville. One thing I have a note on, Carolina actually does pretty goddamn well on the road to start seasons. It's their home openers that they have struggled with for year after year. They struggle at home in their home opener. But on the road, they do a little better. A lot of public sentiment against the Panthers. They lost their big target, Benjamin, gone for the year. I guess the key question here is who was going to catch the footballs, and can the Carolina offense match up to the play of their defense last year? By the end of the season, the Panthers' defense was dominating games. I think if you recall the playoff win at home against the Arizona Cardinals, they allowed less than 100 total yards for the entire game. That's something in the NFL you seldom see, holding a team to under 100 total yards for the game. It's a rare feat. Carolina Panthers pulled it off last year in the playoffs. And keep going down the list. Seattle, 4-point favorites at St. Louis. Again, it's an interesting call. Your gut feel right away is going to say Seattle's a better team. Jump on Seattle. And I have this number as about being right. I find no numeric advantage in this number. I don't think it's a bad number. I think Seattle by 3 or 4 is probably where this should be. And over the next day, I'm going to really try to grind out and see if there's any really a play there to be made statistically viable. I know Seattle's had trouble with St. Louis, so right off my gut feel is just to leave this game alone. I think even when Seattle has good dominant teams, St. Louis has presented them problems. St. Louis has beaten good teams at home. Now, again, it's that home field that people seem to neglect or discount in the NFL, and typically you'll be burnt when you do that. New Orleans travels to Arizona. Arizona, a 2.5-point favorite. Think you look for the Saints to improve this season. We'll see how it works out. They were terrible last year. A lot of things led to that terrible record for the Saints. They playing pretty good toward the end of the year until they got completely bitch slapped by the Panthers, which cost them the division. Detroit, 3-point underdogs at San Diego. This is one of those where I would probably lean to the road team just a tick. I do like Detroit. I'm going to probably like them a lot more in home games this year. San Diego's typically a grinding, gutty team. I would lean to Detroit there, but as of yet, have really not decided on the final plays for the week. Tennessee's at Tampa Bay, 3-point favorite Tampa Bay. If I'm playing that game, I've already got it marked. I'm going to take Tampa Bay small if I play that game. Cincinnati's 3.5-point favorites over Oakland. Possibly some improvement with Oakland. You're getting Derek Carr, who actually didn't look too bad on a shitty team last year. See if he can continue to improve his second year, taking snaps here. I'm not really willing to really touch that game. Baltimore at Denver. Denver, 4.5-point spread. Again, new coach, new theme, new processes going on in Denver. Baltimore, same thing. New coach, new processes. Excuse me, not a new coach in Baltimore. I'm thinking of his brother. Be interesting. That's going to be a good game. You know, you look at that spread looks pretty damn close to being where it should be. I don't really see any value, but perhaps digging deeper tonight, tomorrow, I can come up with something. Then your Sunday night game, Giants, Dallas by 6. Gut instinct would be to take the Cowboys home early, but they struggle covering home numbers. They seem to play weird games against the Giants. They lose when they should win. They win when they should lose. And my first gut instinct is to lean to the Cowboys on the Sunday night game. And then Philadelphia I like against Atlanta, 3-point. I do expect Atlanta to improve this year. But I think Philadelphia offensively, I'm going to count on them right at the start of the year to put up their 30 points a game. Let's see if that gimmicky college-style offense can get it going early in the year in the NFL. We'll see. Chip Kelly's got his work cut out for him, but I think he might be up to the task. He's got some good players now and should have a good running game to go with it. And then your other Monday night game, Minnesota Vikings favored by 2.5 at San Francisco. That's kind of ambitious, I would think, to favor the Vikings. You're going to get Adrian Peterson back. Look for a huge dose of him. Bridgewater showing some improvement. San Francisco struggled. New coach, probably some type of new philosophy. We'll see how that plays out. So I kind of went through quickly some of the games I've liked in college and pro. The best bet Saturday looks like it's going to be Georgia Tech The best bet Sunday is definitely going to be Green Bay. I'll try to get these full cards finished up and out to you guys. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, need to know something specific that I didn't touch on, be sure to let me know. I'll try to get to everybody expeditiously as possible. I will get to it. If you send me an email or a text or a Facebook message, however you contact me. If I don't get back to you immediately, just understand I'm either sleeping, talking to someone else, eating, or who knows what, but typically I'm not leaving the house much here lately, so I will get back to you in good time. Thank you guys. You guys are the core. You're the reason I do what I do. I'd love to build this subscription and have like a huge group of guys looking to make this coin, but for now we'll settle for what we got and we'll move forward. And I'm very thankful. I appreciate all of you guys, man. And I thank you for your confidence in me. And I will be working hard to make sure that your confidence is well placed. We'll get to you guys, get these plays finished up and the playlists out to you later. Good luck tonight. We hit our best bet already with Seattle this morning, so it's been a good start to the day. And we'll talk to you guys later.